Sucker!
You're listening to the Hall of Fame. Here's Booker T and Brad Gilmore.
Wrestling is going in a bad direction.
I have the actually I did. I read the quote. I have the quote here if we want to read it for context.
Yeah.
Is that all right? All right,
Yeah,
this
definitely.
Bret Hart said, when I think of WWE, for example, and I see 20 wrestlers crowd together outside on the floor of the ring, and some guy runs over and dives over the top rope and knocks them all down like bowling pins, I really roll my eyes at how pathetic wrestling is today. From top to bottom, all the wrestlers, all the middle and bottom wrestlers in the WWE and AEW, all slapping on their leg on every punch, every slap. It's gotten to the point where I can't watch wrestling today. Sadly, it's getting too phony. I really have to question the direction that the people are in charge. He goes on to say, AEW has kind of gone in a bad direction as well. I think with all the violence and gore, I watched some episodes. I watched Martha Hart do her big press conference for AEW here in Calgary. I'm watching AEW and I'm watching who used to be Dean Ambrose sticking a fork in somebody's head for 5 minutes with a close-up on TV. This isn't wrestling either. I would recommend turning that off. I don't watch that stuff anymore. It's not very good. Wrestling is going some bad directions because people don't know what wrestling is or what wrestling was. That's the Hall of Famer Bret the Hitman Hart's comments on wrestling today. They got a lot of attention.
I agree with a lot of those factors, man. I agree with a whole lot of what Bret said right there, as far as, and the thing is, when you see it on a regular basis, that's when it become you like desensitized. Oh, it's no problem, man. I mean, it's just wrestling. And when you start doing that, that's when you start messing with my money. That's what Bret's talking about, man. You messing with something that I love, something that I helped build. That's what Bret's talking about. And what I always thought the business was to go out there and simulate a real fight. And try to make it as close as you possibly can. And my thing is, I was just talking about it not too long ago as far as the leg slap. And I've said that I've slapped something in every one of my matches, okay? But the fans didn't see it. The fans didn't know it. When guys communicated back in the day, the fans didn't see it. The fans didn't know it. They were wondering, how do these guys pull this off without us seeing exactly what's happening here? How can they make this look so real? Opposed to somebody getting shot off the ropes and then the guy come off, you pat him on the back, he runs to the other side just to take a hip toss to reverse it and go. I love Cirque du Soleil. Every time I go to Vegas, we're on our way to, in a couple of days, I might even stop by. I know they got a new show just came out. I might stop by and check it out. I love Cirque du Soleil. I used to be a dancer to where everything had to be in sync. Everything had to be done in unison. You know what I mean? Timing was everything. And if somebody was off time, it didn't look right. You know what I mean? That's just the way it was. I get that. But when wrestling, every aspect of it look like it's on time, it's a problem, because there's not going to be a fight to where things look like it's going to be on time in a real fight. It's never going to be like that. It's always going to be a raw effect. It's always going to be a grittiness in a fight. But with wrestling, I understand it's to be embellished. So we have to make things look a certain way. I get that. I understand that. But still, the core of it is trying to suspend the disbelief of the fan that's watching it to make them go, man, I like this stuff. This is good. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm thinking about when performing. Because I know it's a performance. It's a performance. Just like when you go and watch a movie. When you watch a good movie, when you watch a bad movie. It's simple.
It's very similar. I will say, from a fan's perspective, I agree with a lot of what Bret says, mainly because, I grew up on a different style of wrestling. I grew up on watching you and man, I'll tell you what, Mick Foley, I want to give him some props. Whenever Mick Foley would come out to wrestle, it wouldn't always look pretty. It wouldn't always look clean. It wasn't always on time, but I 1000% believed everything that he was doing. There was never a moment where I questioned it. And I'm talking about if he was Cactus Jack, Mankind, Dude Love, or Mick Foley, I believed it 1000% of the time. I never saw a leg slap, but I did see him pull his own hair out of his head. You know what I mean? Like, this guy was 100% in my mind. Undertaker, Kane, Austin, you know, even Rock.
But I tell you right now, if you ask Mick Foley, have you ever slapped something when you hit someone? He's gonna say yeah, because I can tell you right now, I'm sure he did. I'm 100% sure he did. But Mick did it where the fans didn't see it. That's the art of the game. You know, that the hand is quicker than the eye. And that's why I challenge these young guys, man, to really go out and think about your craft, think about your work, because you know this business is going to be what you guys leave it. Hey, I've done my time. I've served my time. My generation, you know, left the business pretty, you know, well intact. As far as people saying, man, I love this stuff, man. I want to buy into it. To keep it, it's going to be all up to these young guys. That's why I say, understand your work. As far as what does it take to make it to the top of the card? The Roman Reigns status. You know, what is it going to take? Whether you at the top of the card or whether you working with the guy at the top of the card, one of the two, you know, but it takes a certain something to actually get to that point. And case in point, I watched Cody Rhodes the way he worked in AEW, and I watched the way he worked in WWE. Two totally different guys. You dig it, sucker!
You are listening to the Hall of Fame. Here's Booker T and Brad Gilmore.